What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Bluebird Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, MATCHROOM CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn says that his fighter, two-division world champion Katie Taylor, is as much of a star, if not bigger star, than his fighter, former unified British heavyweight world champion Anthony Joshua, who will be going into a highly anticipated unification heavyweight rematch with the man he lost his titles to, Mexican superstar boxer, current unified heavyweight world champion Andy Ruiz Jr., December 7th in Saudi Arabia. Eddie Hearn says this: he believes Katie Taylor is as or bigger star than Anthony Joshua. And in my humble opinion, I'm going to say this. I believe that Eddie Hearn is starting to make his exit plan away from Anthony Joshua. And not completely. I know people are going to say, what do you mean? Not completely. He may have doubts. Eddie Hearn has doubts that Anthony Joshua is going to be successful against Andy Ruiz. And he's starting to maneuver and make moves, lateral moves, to his next biggest star, right? He knows that if Anthony Joshua loses this rematch with Andy Ruiz, regardless of what Anthony Joshua wants to believe and say, his star power, his status is going to take a major, major hit. It's going to take a major dip. Eddie Hearn already said this. He already made mention of this, right? He says that this is a must-win for Anthony Joshua. He has a lot riding on the line. If Anthony Joshua loses this fight, a lot is at stake. Eddie Hearn, as a promoter, already sees the writing on the wall. And he already knows that it's going to be very, very hard to promote Anthony Joshua as a superstar in the sport of boxing should he lose to this fight with Andy Ruiz, and especially how he loses. Now, if it goes to the cards and it's a very, very close fight, that's one thing. But if Anthony Joshua goes into this rematch, gets knocked out and stopped, it's over. It's not completely over. Anthony Joshua said he's going to continue his career. He's going to fight for another 5 to 10 years. But should he lose this fight dramatically, right, you can't sell him to the public and the boxing world the same. You just can't do it. And Eddie Hearn knows this. So Eddie Hearn is starting to make plans to maneuver as a promoter for his sake, right, to be able to have somebody to latch on to, a superstar for himself to latch on to. The UK, the sport of boxing, is perceived totally different over in the United Kingdom. Katie Taylor's from Ireland, right? But it's still over in that area, right? And so with that said, Katie Taylor is easy to be marketed. This last fight with Katie Taylor was a very, very close fight. Her fight before that with Pearson, I thought Katie Taylor lost. And a lot of the boxing world, boxing pundits and fans thought that Katie Taylor lost that fight as well. So that was a very, very close fight. But most people felt like Katie Taylor lost that fight. I'm one of them. I thought she lost that fight. I thought that Katie Taylor was in her last fight this past Saturday, this past weekend, was in another very, very close fight that could have went either way with Christina Lenatua. I never could pronounce her name, but with Pearson, I thought that Katie Taylor lost that fight, and Pearson was looking for an immediate rematch, and they didn't give it to her. They didn't grant her the immediate rematch, as they should have granted her an immediate rematch because she deserved it. Right? You don't have a fight of that magnitude, that close, and don't grant the opponent the immediate rematch. She was owed that, and I believe she was the champion in that fight as well. She was owed that. They didn't do it because they know that stylistically it's a bad matchup. So Eddie Hearn could be putting the carriage before the horse, seeming to be already preparing himself to jump ship from Anthony Joshua to Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor, you can market over in the UK. The UK fans, the Ireland fans, they're going to get behind Katie Taylor, right? He could make her a superstar. Absolutely, she's already a superstar, right? And she has a heart, right? Just because I thought she lost the fight with Pearson and the fight with the last fight with Christina was very, very close, that don't mean she ain't a dog, because Katie Taylor's a dog, and she definitely could be marketed as a star. But my point is this: the reason he's saying this is because he's making lateral moves. He's making plans for the future just in case things fall through with Anthony Joshua. See, there's no immediate rematch. There's no rematch clause for Anthony Joshua and Andrew Ruiz. So if Anthony Joshua is successful, right, they already put it in place that they're not going to face Deontay Wilder. They're going to work on rebuilding Anthony Joshua, his legacy, and building his star status back up before they dare step in the ring with a Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and get embarrassed. Right, because then there's no way to go from there. So definitely, Eddie Hearn is making plans. You best believe that he's preparing for the future, just in case Anthony Joshua happens to lose this fight. And I'm one to believe that Anthony Joshua will lose this fight because styles make fights. But that's not a foregone conclusion. I would not be surprised if Anthony Joshua wins the fight because it's still a 50-50 fight. I just didn't like how he lost to Andrew Ruiz, and I think that styles make fights. So that's why I'm picking Andrew Ruiz to be successful in the rematch. But does that mean that Anthony Joshua can't win the rematch? No. I would not be surprised if Anthony Joshua did win the rematch. So, but with that said, you know, Eddie Hearn is asked to make plans because he has nobody else, right? At this point in time, he has Demetrius Andrade, but he's not a superstar. He's a very, very good fighter, but he's not a superstar in the sport of boxing. He has Dillian White, but we see the situation with Dillian White, right? So Eddie Hearn, he has Devin Haney. But Devin Haney at this point in time, after this fight, is on a fight-to-fight basis with Eddie Hearn. So he could go elsewhere. So see, things have tightened up for Eddie Hearn, and his cash cow, his golden goose, and Anthony Joshua could possibly lose this fight again, his rematch. And it depends on how he loses the fight. It's like I just said. That means a lot. How he loses this fight, if he should lose, means everything, right? He has to, he could lose a close fight, a decision fight, and in a fight that, let's say, we felt like, oh man, that could have went either way. That won't hurt his legacy. It won't do anything to him. It'll call for a trilogy. It'll call for a rubber match. You understand? But if he gets stopped like he did the first time, it's over. It's over. People are not going to believe in him anymore. The UK will stand behind him. Like you see guys like Derek Chisora, Ricky Burns, you understand, over in the UK. They still marketable. They still sells. They still draws in the UK. But here in the States, worldwide, as they was promoting Anthony Joshua as a worldwide global superstar, that's no longer in play. It's no longer in play. And another thing is, depending upon how he wins this fight, the world's going to be calling and clamoring for Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight. And that's going to put even more pressure on Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. You understand? Because you got already people that felt like they let it slip away by not making it happen when it was available, and then and thus causing the world to, in that fight, to lose its luster. And people weren't happy with that, whether it be Joshua fans or Wilder fans or just casual fans, because people just wanted to see that fight. That's a major fight. And because they let that fight slip through the cracks and Andrew Ruiz upset the apple cart, people weren't happy. So if he gets away and happens to defeat Andrew Ruiz Jr. in this rematch, people are going to be calling for that fight to happen ASAP before something goes wrong again. That's just what it is. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on them anyway. They're going to go the route of saying that they have to honor and satisfy their mandatories. That's what's going to be their marketing tool to be able to get away from a Deontay Wilder fight. Because at the end of the day, I believe that even the fans of Joshua feel like, they have their doubts that Joshua is going to beat Deontay Wilder as well. And so I have no doubt that Eddie Hearn has doubts that Joshua is going to beat. He could. I'm not saying that he can't beat Deontay Wilder, but it's not as close as what he used to think. So he has huge doubts that Joshua is going to be successful and defeat Deontay Wilder in a fight. If he goes on and fights Wilder or Fury and loses big time, it's over. They're going to feel like he was exposed. You understand? He will become Derek Chisora. He's still a name. He still could beat the bottom tier of the heavyweight division because he's still a good fighter. But styles make fights. You understand what I'm saying? So it's going to be very, very difficult to market him as such. Thus the reason why Eddie Hearn is already starting to equal out and level out Katie Taylor as the same superstar and try to big her up in her career and uplift her in her career to the same status as Anthony Joshua. Thus is the reason why he's saying such things, that Katie Taylor is just as a big a star as Anthony Joshua, if not bigger. He also went on a limb and said, Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather. That's outrageous. But the reason why he did that is to cover his tracks, not to make Joshua think twice, not to make Joshua look at him a certain kind of way. That's why he mentioned the likes of Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather, to say, she's just as big as a star as them. He know what he meant. What he meant was, it's a marketing tool. And I can market her, should Joshua lose, this is going to be my golden goose, my cash cow now. That's the wave he's going to have to ride as a promoter. And I understand wholeheartedly where he's coming at from this. But is she a big star like Anthony Joshua? Absolutely not. Canelo Alvarez? Absolutely not. She's a star in the sport of boxing, but she's nowhere near on the level of Anthony Joshua, nor Canelo Alvarez, and definitely not Floyd Mayweather. It's not even thinkable. It's not even a question. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hit, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share this video. That's all I got for y'all. Eddie Hearn, MATCHROOM CEO and promoter of Anthony Joshua, former unified British heavyweight world champion, and Katie Taylor, 2-division world champion, says that Katie Taylor is as big a star as Anthony Joshua, if not bigger. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.